Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sandy Carter and I'm Amazon Web Services Vice President for WWPS Partners and Programs. And first, I want to thank both FedScoop and Goldie for having me on today. And thank you for joining us to talk about how to unlock innovation with your data. Now, I'm sure many of you today are looking to unlock innovation. In fact, we recently saw a study that showed that 93% of CEOs around the world believe that innovation is their secret to success. But many of us feel like we're in this organization, don't we? Where innovation is hard to unlock when you've got people who want to wait and see or say it will never work or I've already tried it before. So all of us really need to think differently, think big, and really take some really essential time to understand the power of data. Now, we've all been hearing about data, especially since the start of COVID, because data has become even more of a strategic asset for every organization. In fact, pre-COVID, I would have companies come to my EBCs and they would say, all I want to hear about is machine learning and artificial intelligence, not understanding that machine learning and artificial intelligence feed on data. Truly, the world's most valuable resource now is data. Now, when you get data in the cloud, it really has amazing capabilities. In fact, many say that it has gravity because of the benefits that we see from data. And as we look at, what data can deliver, most companies today are truly looking for that real-time business insight, but they're also looking to really accelerate innovation like we started talking about at the very beginning. And all of that, we believe, starts with the data, either data driven by IoT, but used in analytics and visualization and with AI and ML. So the best companies, I get asked a lot, what are some best practices? The best companies that I work with around the world have both a business strategy and a data strategy. Now, your business strategy, I'm sure many of you hopefully use on a daily basis. It really helps you to understand where your business is going, not just today, but tomorrow. But at the same time, you really need to understand your data strategy, because that data strategy in a lot of cases enables you to drive the efficiencies and the innovation in your business that you're trying to drive, even getting to some of that agility that you need to drive as well. So one of the best practices that we always tell companies and agencies, governments, and countries around the world is that you've got to have a data strategy linked into your business strategy. Imagine during COVID, we had countries coming to us wanting to figure out how to get their supply chain, food to the right place, masks to the right place, doctors to the right place. And all of that depended upon them having the right data strategy to support that country strategy or that supply chain strategy that they were trying to implement very quickly. And so defining a data strategy is crucial, really ensuring that that data is now managed and used like an asset. And it's really important that you understand what data you have, what data you need, and where that data is coming from, and what's the right data to use for different problems. I was recently with an agency, and they were so excited to use some of the artificial intelligence that Amazon Web Services have. But they started with some data that they weren't quite sure about the origin of, and they weren't quite sure they had enough data. They still built the machine learning models and sent that through based on the data they had, but the results turned out to be wrong, not because the machine learning model was wrong, but because what they started with was not correct. They had not initially defined that data strategy, which is so essential. So just to reemphasize, before you do develop a machine learning strategy, which I'm sure all of you are looking to do, you really do need to develop a data strategy. And there's three things I always talk to my customers and countries, agencies, about, which is make sure you have the right data quality, meaning the data is good data. Make sure you have the right data quantity. If not, you might want to consider buying some data, or many of our customers go out there and pull it out of spreadsheets, or even, data that's been stored in someone's head if they're a long-term employee. And then make sure you've got the right data source to ensure that you're targeting that right data for the right problem. Now, all of this comes before really looking at some of the other bigger things you can do with data. So if you are looking for the great data quality and great data quantity, one of the things that we saw really emerge, especially starting during COVID, was IoT, Internet of Things. And one of the things that we found was that because a lot of companies couldn't send people out, or it's too risky to send them out, instead they used sensors that were attached to, drones that went around the world to get readings for weather or water or really the speed of the air, or sensors that existed in hospitals to really make it easier to determine what was going on. For example, we had one hospital that leveraged robots to do that initial check, that initial triage when someone came into a hospital, to take their temperature via sensors, look at their breathing pattern during sensors, to really get a good feel for where to route someone. Having the sensors do that initial work, saving essential workers. So if you haven't considered looking at IoT and the way that you could use sensors, we're seeing across public sector, almost every vertical, from government, DOD, to not-for-profits, healthcare, education, all figure out new ways to use and leverage sensors to get the data that they need, both the quality, because it's real time, as well as the quantity to really move forward. So if you think about that, you really have to think about, if you've got the right data quantity, quality, and source, now how do you leverage that data? Well, we introduced a concept called data-led migration. And it really enables you to move your data that today is probably sitting in Excel spreadsheets and probably on-prem servers, and maybe even in people's head, over to the cloud. Getting it over to the cloud enables you to scale in ways that you've never seen before. But just by moving the data, you're really not completing what you need to get to those right business insights. You need to move the data and then provide analytics, visualization, or machine learning and artificial intelligence to get the true value of it in order to make better business decisions. So as we look at that data, we see there being 4 steps to get that data over and to make the data usable. So typically we look at planning for a migration of the data and then taking that data into a data lake. Now, a data lake has come up in popularity. Data lakes are extremely secure, and they enable you to place your data in a location that enables many analysts to get access to the data. In fact, I'll show you some examples here in a few minutes where, because that data was now available, more analysts were able to attach into that data. And then, of course, we talked about using analytics to analyze the data, right? The data just sitting there really isn't valuable. You really need insight from the data, and ultimately to visualize the data and use machine learning on it. So you're not just looking at what happened in the past, but machine learning is helping you to predict the future as well. So part of what we see as the future are these cloud data lakes. These cloud data lakes are really a great way to get started in your migration. There are several ways that you would want to build and manage that data lake, and we can walk you through that. Or we have some amazing partners that can really help you get going with setting up the storage, how you have to move that data over, and then how you have to cleanse the data to get to that right quality of data. And then, of course, we know that security is really important. At Amazon, we like to say it's job 0. So you've got to configure that for security and then move that data over so that it's now accessible for analytics and for some of those real-time decision-making areas that you really want to focus on. Now, Amazon Web Services, as well as its partners, we have more data lakes and more analytics than anywhere on the world. And we run it across all those different areas, whether we're talking about DoD or not-for-profit, governments around the world, both federal and state governments, as well as looking at it in healthcare and other places too. So when you put machine learning in the hands of every developer and every scientist, it really then provides you with that power to make real-time data decisions. This was one of the places that we were using some of that data coming in from IoT was on the mission to Mars. We used data coming in to train Rover before Rover went to Mars, and really to leverage that data to ensure that when Rover got to Mars, whatever was happening there, learning could kick in and ensure that the rover was able to adapt to different circumstances. And that's really what you're looking for in your business too. So let me just go through a couple of examples of those companies that are leveraging data today. So let's look at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Now, the really great thing here is that they moved their data over to the cloud in about a week. So it didn't take them a long amount of time. But one of the keys is they were able to increase the data sources from 30 to 75. So now all that data was accessible. Now 7,000 analysts had access to that data. And they could also analyze the data for predicting next year applications or no-shows coming into the immigration office using Databricks, one of our partners. We see the very same thing with FINRA. FINRA has so much data, as you guys know, and they leverage Splunk to move their data from over 170 applications over to the cloud. That's over 100 billion financial transactions a day. Then they applied all that analytics on their stock transactions, on access, even protection for cyber threats. So you can see the two-step here. Get the data over to the cloud so that you can provide insight through analytics, machine learning as well. So my call to action for you is consider creating a data strategy that is in sync with your business strategy. Do that now. Don't wait till the next time you need it. Start early. Secondly, ensure that you are applying the analytics and artificial intelligence and machine learning. If you just get it over to the cloud, you've probably saved some costs, but you're not getting that agility and innovation that you really need. And then I've talked about several partners. We have many partners today who support us in data and analytics, and we'd love for them to help you along your journey as well. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'll reach out at any time. I've had my Twitter here, Sandy_Carter, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you.